It's Patrick Hutzel from IntensiveCareHotline.com, where we instantly improve the lives of families of critically ill patients in intensive care so that you can have peace of mind, real power, real control, and so that you can influence decision making fast, even if you're not a doctor or a nurse in intensive care. In last week's blog, you've discovered how to stay strong whilst your loved one is critically ill in intensive care. You can check out last week's blog by clicking on the link below this video. In this week's blog, I want to share with you how to control your positive self-image whilst your loved one is critically ill in intensive care. The concept of self-image is a powerful concept. The concept of our own and individual self-image is so powerful that we spend hours, days, or even years trying to get the picture in our head right about what our self-image looks like, and then we try and live our lives according and congruent to our self-image. The concept of self-image is different for different people. However, at the end of the day, we all know and understand that we all have our own concept about our own self-image. The self-image that we have attributed to our persona and personality is influenced by many facets, such as the society we live in, our friends, our family, and many other factors that we pick up along our way in life. However, in most cases, our self-image is a positive one, and our self-image is therefore relying on mainly positive attributes. The attributes about our self-image that we like the most are attributes such as good health, youth, vitality, success, being in control of our own lives, and being in control of our own destiny, etc. And that's how it should be. If we don't give ourselves permission to control and live according and congruent to our mainly positive self-image, life can be very hard and frustrating. Okay, so you might say, Patrick, I understand all of that, but where's the connection to my loved one being critically ill in intensive care? And where's the connection to me and my family dealing with one of the biggest challenges and frustrations I have ever dealt with? Okay, that's a very good point and a very good question. The truth of the matter is that your self-image is mainly positive, and now all of a sudden you are facing this massive and once-in-a-lifetime challenge of having a loved one critically ill in intensive care. Your self-image is suffering one way or another. And that's okay. It is what it is. However, controlling your positive self-image during this once-in-a-lifetime challenge is crucial for you and for your family to have peace of mind, control, power, and influence. People who have a negative self-image and or low self-esteem tend to be the 99% of families of critically ill patients in intensive care who have no peace of mind, no control, no power, and no influence. Most people who read this blog and who are proactively looking for a solution, who are looking for ways out of their dilemma, have a positive self-image. And yet, even for people with a positive self-image and high self-esteem, the challenges, the frustrations, the fear, the anxiety, the overwhelming emotions, the stress, and the level of vulnerability they are currently experiencing when their loved one is critically ill in intensive care can get all too much. And if you are having a mainly positive self-image about you and your family, that's a great starting point, and you have a great resource to tap into. And you need those resources, such as your positive self-image, especially if your loved one is either very unstable and in a very critical condition, or is in a life-threatening situation, or is in intensive care for long-term treatments and long-term stays, or is having a severe or traumatic head or brain injury, or is threatened with an NFR, not for resuscitation, or DNR, do not resuscitate order, or is in a situation where the intensive care team suggests a withdrawal of treatment or a limitation of treatment as being quote-unquote in the best interest of your critically ill loved one, or is even approaching the end of life in intensive care. Because those are the situations where at first sight your and your family's positive self-image might take a hard hit. Nobody wants to be facing, or let alone dealing with, such a massive and once-in-a-lifetime challenge like the ones I just mentioned. And I can assure you that in more than 15 years intensive care nursing in 3 different countries, where I have literally worked with thousands of critically ill patients and their families, that even families with a positive self-image and high self-esteem have been hit extremely hard because they were unprepared. Even families with a positive self-image and high self-esteem very often have no peace of mind, no control, no power and no influence whilst their loved one is critically ill in intensive care. And that's simply because they don't know what to do. They don't know what questions they should be asking, and they don't know how they can maintain their positive self-image and have peace of mind, control, power and influence as a result of their positive self-image. Because let's face it, maintaining your positive self-image during this once-in-a-lifetime challenge whilst your loved one is critically ill in intensive care is very important to you. Maintaining your positive self-image, even if your critically ill loved one is either very unstable and in a very critical condition, or is in a life-threatening situation, or has been in intensive care for long-term treatments and long-term stays, or is having a severe or traumatic head or brain injury, or is threatened with an NFR, not for resuscitation, or DNR, do not resuscitate order. Or your loved one might be in a situation where the intensive care team suggests a withdrawal of treatment or a limitation of treatment as being quote-unquote in the best interest of your critically ill loved one. Or your loved one may even be approaching the end of life in intensive care. Those are the situations where your self-image is very important, and so it should. Because if you let those situations impact on your positive self-image, and if those challenging, difficult and frustrating situations cause you to not have peace of mind, not have control, not have power and not have influence, you, your family and your critically ill loved one are doomed. Imagine the intensive care team suggests to you and to your family that a withdrawal of treatment or a limitation of treatment would be quote-unquote in the best interest of your critically ill loved one. If you and your family have a negative self-image, the intensive care team knows that. They might take advantage of it, and they have an easy time to drive home their mainly hidden agenda. If you and your family have a positive self-image and high self-esteem, you will question, you won't take no for an answer, and you will challenge the intensive care team and their assumptions. If you and your family have a positive self-image and high self-esteem, you will start looking for answers, for solutions, and you will start looking at what's happening behind the scenes in intensive care. If you and your family have a positive self-image and high self-esteem, you won't let this once-in-a-lifetime challenge, and you won't let the negativity, the doom and gloom of the intensive care team define you or stop you from having peace of mind, control, power and influence. If you and your family have a positive self-image and high self-esteem, you also know that your mental positioning is just as, if not more important, than the intensive care team's positioning. If you and your family have a positive self-image and high self-esteem, you know that the financial interests, the medical research interests, the bed management pressures, the resource limitations, the politics, the dynamics, the competing interests, the power play, the power struggles, the hierarchy, the intrigue and the psychology of the intensive care team are all but limitations for you to have peace of mind, control, power and influence. If you and your family have a positive self-image and high self-esteem, you know that the negative positioning of your critically ill loved one's diagnosis and prognosis by the intensive care team is something that is to be challenged by your determination, by your strong mental positioning, which is just as strong, if not stronger, than the intensive care team's positioning. If you and your family have a positive self-image and high self-esteem, you won't budge. You won't buy into the perceived power and the perceived authority of the intensive care team. If you and your family have a positive self-image and high self-esteem, you control your body language and you carry yourself well during this once-in-a-lifetime challenge. If you and your family have a positive self-image and high self-esteem, you speak in a tone of voice and with carefully chosen words that lets the intensive care team know that you are out of your comfort zone, but you also let them know through your tone of voice and with carefully chosen words and through your body language that no matter what, you will have peace of mind, control, power and influence. If you and your family have a positive self-image and high self-esteem, you will, even in the face of massive and devastating adversity, such as if your loved one is inevitably approaching their end of life in intensive care, you make sure that your loved one and your family have privacy, dignity, and that all your emotional, spiritual, cultural, and religious needs are met. In any case, if you and your family have positive self-image and high self-esteem, you will make sure that the intensive care team is not walking all over you, and you will make sure that you will have peace of mind, control, power and influence. So, how can you quickly get peace of mind, control, power and influence whilst your loved one is critically ill in intensive care? You get to that all-important feeling of peace of mind, control, power and influence when you download your free Instant Impact Report now by entering your email below. In your free Instant Impact Report, you learn quickly how to get peace of mind, real power and real control, and how you can influence decision making fast whilst your loved one is critically ill in intensive care. Your free Instant Impact Report gives you in-depth insight that you must know whilst your loved one is critically ill or is even dying in intensive care. Sign up and download your free Instant Impact Report now by entering your email below. In your free Instant Impact Report, you learn how to speak the secret intensive care language so that the doctors and the nurses know straight away that you are an insider and that you know and understand what's really happening in intensive care. In your free report, you will also discover how to ask the doctors and the nurses the right questions. Discover the many competing interests in intensive care and how your critically ill loved one's treatment may depend on those competing interests. How to eliminate fear, frustration, stress, struggle, anxiety and vulnerability even if your loved one is dying. You get 5 killer tips and strategies helping you to get on the right path to peace of mind, control, power and influence in your situation. You will get real-world examples that you can easily adapt to your and your critically ill loved one's situation. How to stop being intimidated by the intensive care team and how you will be seen as equals. You will get crucial behind-the-scenes insight so that you know and understand what's really happening in intensive care and how you need to manage doctors and nurses in intensive care, and it's not what you think. Thank you for tuning into this week's blog, and I'll see you again in another update next week. Make sure you also check out our Your Questions Answered section where we answer your questions, or send me an email to support@intensivecarehotline.com with your questions. This is Patrick Hutzel from intensivecarehotline.com, and I'll see you again next week in another update.